Steel Toes is brought to you by PCL Construction. Hi everyone and welcome to Women in Steel Toes Boots on the Ground, Episode 8. Today I'm here with Michelle J. to talk about her role as a superintendent at Miller Group. Michelle, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got started? Because you had a bit of a different start than people normally do. So let's start with that.
Yeah, so I have a bit of an unorthodox, background for what you might think a superintendent would be in their previous experience. I have a Bachelor of Arts from Ryerson University. I kind of joke that your Bachelor of Arts just seems to be a default for school if when you don't really know what else you want to do, and you just end up doing that. So you've got some sort of a piece of paper at the end of it. I also have a diploma in human resources management. And I started my career with Miller in our HR department. So working with training and development, recruiting, and specifically recruiting for our student program.
So when you started with Miller, was that like your first time working for a construction company?
Yeah, it was. I do have a bit of experience when it comes to the trades. My parents do own a small carpentry business. So I spent my summers in the shops. I didn't go to camp. I just built birdhouses and helped my dad build shelves and some custom cabinetry. So I was always around the trades and it was something that I was interested in. But Miller was my first job myself working in construction.
How did you find it working previously? Because you had a job in HR previously before that, moved here. Did you find there was a big difference working for a construction company?
Yeah, so previous to Miller, I worked at a smaller organization that was predominantly female. Obviously, coming into Miller, knowing that the construction industry is predominantly male, there was a bit of a shift, a bit of a different communication style with what we did. Everything we do moves fast. Construction, we are on tight timelines. The communication style of a lot of our management teams was very direct. We needed to make quick, informed decisions on things, and that's kind of how they would like to be approached with things. So you're just learning to adjust your communication style a little bit to your audience.
It's a good one because I think a lot of people don't realize that too. Construction is very direct. When it comes to a lot of things, people are busy. They want an answer, not a million questions.
Absolutely.
So coming from HR to a superintendent, what inspired you to do that? How did that happen?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started with Miller doing a lot of recruiting for our student program. So I spent a lot of time on the road doing career fairs at local colleges and universities. And I would be telling these civil engineering or CET or construction management students all about our company and the exciting projects that we're working on and what their summer co-ops would potentially be like. And I was starting to get a little bit jealous of what I was kind of telling them. I said, wow, that sounds great. Like, I really wish that I could do that. And had I maybe known about that before, I would have considered a different career path coming out of high school and what programs I would have chosen. So it's something that kind of always stuck with me. As I moved into a different position within HR at Miller, I got to work more direct with the business units and the managers and see what they did on a day-to-day. I just thought that the planning, the scheduling, the quick decisions, the thinking on the fly and having to come up with solutions to all of these problems was so interesting. So through that, I really started getting an interest in potentially moving positions. So I had conversations with a very supportive HR management team and some very supportive managers within our operations about, hey, maybe this is something for me. Like, what skills do I have that would be transferable? What are maybe some of my gaps that I need to work on? So it was really having a lot of support from the organization in making that switch that ultimately led me to be able to do that. I mean, how many people do you know that have worked in HR can now call themselves a superintendent of a highway maintenance division?
You are it. I know, but I think that's kind of good too because being a superintendent, it's a lot. It's dealing with people, a lot of it, and there's definitely the technical knowledge as well. It's a big component, but dealing with people is at least 50% of the job. So for that technical knowledge gap, how do you help fill that?
So I came into this position eyes wide open, really knowing where my strengths and areas of development would be. So right now I'm spending a lot of time studying. Over the summer, my goal is to make sure that I get out in the field and learn from people who are experts. So I rely on our operations manager, my boss, a lot. And I also look to our patrol supervisors, lead hands, and our kind of qualified structural individual as well to have that knowledge. And I ask questions, and I'm not afraid to say that I don't know that answer. So I think having that humility to be able to do that and to make sure that I am relying on people who do know more than me. We're able to kind of come together as a team to make sure that we're working toward a like-minded goal and we're able to get things done.
Yeah, and I think an amazing way to look at it too, because no matter how long you're in construction, things change all the time. You'll never, like a seasoned expert, will never know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in and be able to learn how to work as a team, especially HR, you probably get that right off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's a great way to approach things and a great way to make sure that you're not catching it, like you're not missing things either when you're going out there and asking all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find it a difficult transition?
I wouldn't say it was a difficult transition, and I wouldn't say that my transition is done. So I am in the position, but I am still learning and growing every day. Like I said, I think because I had previous relationships with the group, people knew me. People knew what it was going to be like to work with me. So I think that made it a lot easier. I think coming from a position in HR to that role, wouldn't be surprised to think that maybe people would have reservations of that or question that potential decision. But I think after working with me, I think we might have to cut that piece a little bit.
Oh, no worries.
What was the original question, just so I can come back to it?
So what did you find it a difficult transition coming in from HR to a superintendent?
Okay. I'll re-answer that one. Okay, so I wouldn't say that it was a difficult transition. I will say that I was able to focus on what my strengths were, and bring those items in right away. So people management, really being able to help motivate people, understanding the organization and our policies as well, and being able to reference those in what we do every day when it comes to HR or health and safety, or equipment or rentals or anything to do with that. And then really taking my organization and computer skills and being able to apply that into scheduling and creating better streamlined kind of communication flow amongst our group.
That's a key factor too. Better communication. It's always
Yeah.
nice to have.
Yeah.
So you said you're working, so you're Miller Maintenance. Can you walk us through a day in your job? Like what are you doing? What do your crews do? What are you overseeing in a day?
Yeah, so in highway maintenance, basically what we're doing is we're ensuring that the highways are safe and clean for the traveling public. So we do have scheduled work that is in our contract, and then we respond to various items that may come up. So a guardrail hit, an emergency closure on the highway, or debris that we may have to pick up to make sure that it's not in a live lane so that the traveling public can move through. My role in all of this is just to help facilitate our scheduling, facilitate our equipment, facilitate our staff, and ensure that there's open communication between our field supervisors, our client, our operations manager, and then also to ensure our corporate office is kept in the loop about things as well.
It's a lot to do in a day.
It's a lot of just juggling various things and making sure paperwork and people and everything's kind of just going along.
Yeah. Keep people going in the field and make sure
Yeah.
everything is going smoothly. So what excites you most about your job?
So what I love about what we do in highway maintenance is it has such a direct impact on people's day-to-day lives. So we work on the highway. People use these roadways to get to work, to get to friends, to get to family when things open up a little bit more, of course. And what we do is tangible. So when we repair guardrail and we make that safe again, like we can see that and we know we're having an impact on people's lives. So I think that's what is so important with what we do.
That's going to be one of my favorite parts of construction as well. It's every day you're out there, you're seeing exactly what you're doing. You see your progress and you see how it's
Exactly.
affecting other people as well.
And no day is the same. That much I can guarantee. Everything we do moves fast. We need to be solutions oriented and make sure that we're able to keep the highway safe.
Exactly. You can do the same job a million times and it'll never quite pan out the same way.
Exactly.
Awesome. Just to close out, is there any advice you would give to someone getting into the field?
So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to not know something. And don't be afraid to get into this field even later in life. So just because you didn't come direct out of it into this field from high school, or you may not have all of that direct experience, if you work hard, if you create those relationships, you will be successful. So I would encourage, especially women who maybe didn't see this as a career path previously, to potentially pursue it, even if that means getting more education or taking a position or getting that field experience. Don't be afraid to do that.
I think that's great advice. Field experience is always underrated, but it's some of the best experience you can get.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out?
No, I think what you're doing is such a great thing. I've listened to the other podcasts and I'm excited to see the other ones that you come out with. All of the women that you are featuring are so inspiring with their stories and how they got there, and everyone is so different. So I think it's just important for us to really continue to focus on that. And I appreciate what you're doing for everyone in the industry.
Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you. That's so nice. Yeah, and I'm always thankful for women like you who do come on here and they do share their stories because it's not always fun getting in front of a camera.